Okay, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Please can Topper confirm to me if I can be heard? I just want to be sure so that we can just go on.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's such an honor to welcome you all to the Real Estate Today, the webinar brought to you by Ubosi Ele and Co. My name is Olusanjo Fawole, and I'm your host this afternoon. This is a webinar that comes your way every month where we discuss topical issues that helps us to navigate the real estate world. And for those who are real estate enthusiasts, for those who are investors in the real estate space, and also for those who are practitioners in the real estate industry. So you're all welcome from wherever it is you're watching us from. It's either good morning, it could be afternoon, and it could be evening, but all we can say is that you're welcome. And I'm sure that we're also on YouTube. If I get that details, I'm going to let us have that information maybe immediately if I can get that information. But if not, before we start, I'm going to also reel out other spaces where you can actually watch us from. Once again, you're welcome. It's time for you to reach out to your friends and to everyone around you to ask them to join. We're just about starting. Tell your friends to call their friends and their friends to also speak to their colleagues and friends that we are on air and it's about to go down. And so let's everybody get ready. And as such, it's going to be a wonderful time as we all begin to look at a topic that is going to be of utmost blessings and eye-opening to each and every one of us. You're all welcome once again. So this afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from, we're going to be dealing with a topic. But again, before we go into that topic, I'd like to just give a few housekeeping just for us to understand. These are things that we usually let us know so that we all can be participants and all get to get the best from the webinar. Did you want to ask any questions in the course of the webinar? Please, you have the opportunity to ask your question. Howbeit, you can use the chat box to drop in your questions. And also, if you want us to promote you so that you can ask your question directly, you can also do that. I mean, you can do that by show of hands, and you can be sure that the back end are going to promote you to panelists so that you can make your comments, you can make your contributions, you can also ask a question if you so desire. I think that's about that regarding the housekeeping. We're going to go right about it. After the presentation, we're going to go to the question and answer. So the essence is listening to the presentation, jotting your questions, and if you have comments to make, get ready as you'll be given that privilege to do that. All right. Again, tell your friends to tell their friends we're about starting. They've not missed anything too much. They can get right into it right away. And so today we're going to be the topic before us today. Like we know, it's a topical issue that we consider every on this webinar every month. And so, and for this month of July, we're going to be speaking. The topic is going to be how to prepare your house or your property for sale and attract the most buyer. I come again, how to prepare your house, your property for sale and attract the most buyer. So please, you may have somebody who is interested in selling their property or who are thinking of selling their property. Please get them on this call and let them be part of this webinar. And so to do justice to this, we have the person who's going to be speaking to us. Her name is Mrs. Mojisola Ogunkoya. Mrs. Mojisola Ogunkoya is a 2005 graduate of accountancy with over 18 years experience spread across manufacturing, banking, real estate, and also counseling. She is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. She is an emotional intelligence coach. She is a grief support specialist, an educator, and a member of various and other professional bodies in Nigeria. Mojisola Ogunkoya is also the convener of EQ to Freedom Conference and the Grief Support Network Conference. Also, she is an author of the book When It Hot. She is presently the head account department of Obosele and Co. and the lead consultant for the Four Large Mind Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mrs. Mojisola Ogunkoya, who is going to be speaking to us on the topic, how to prepare your house, your property for sale, and attract the most buyer. Madam, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you everyone for having me. So permit me to just share my slides. Okay. Okay, just a minute, please. Thank you. So like we have rightly heard that today we're talking about how to prepare your house or your property for sale and then attract the most buyer. So when you want to attract the most buyer, I know that what is in our mind is making the money. Yes, it's very, very important. So before we go ahead, I want us to look at this quote by Todd Duncan. He said, you must learn that selling is not selling, it's providing. And the key to providing is knowing in advance what to provide. So today we are trying to look at how we can prepare our house or our property if we really want to attract the right investors or the buyers. And so before we even go into that, we need to also understand that selling is not just about selling, oh, I want to sell my house. You should know that it's about providing solution. It's about meeting the need of someone who will be interested in your property. So that is key. Then also we need to understand the markets. Understanding the market in such a way that you are looking at it, is it the buyer's market or is the seller's market? So you know if as a seller you have advantage or you have some advantages. And when we talk about the buyer's market, was from what I have here, I said the buyer's market is characterized by an abundance of property available for sale, giving buyers more negotiating power and choice. On the other hand, a seller's market is marked by high demand and low inventory, empowering sellers to command higher prices and receive multiple offers. You will agree with me that what we have currently is the buyer's market because we have a lot of inventory. And when I talk about inventory, a lot of houses, property waiting for buyers. In another way, you might want to look at it that, oh, maybe the sellers are actually using their power by fixing prices, but if they use that power, it's now left for the buyers to know if they want to take that decision. So I can confidently say that it is the buyer's market. So if you want to sell a property, you need to really understand. That will guide you on how to present your house or your property, and then talking about the price. So generally, factors affecting the Nigerian real estate market. So very key, very important. You remember that I said from that quote that it's not just selling. You need to know that it's solution that you want to provide, you want to meet need, and you also need to understand that there are factors that can either aid what you want to sell or limit you in one way or the other. So that is very key. So we have the economic condition, looking at the economic growth, the inflation rates, which can create some instability and then affect the decision making of people who may be interested in investing in property or in buying property. I also have the income level. And I also think that one of the reasons why the market is now the buyer's market is because of the income level of people. There are many houses out there. People might be interested, but they also need to know, they also need to understand if they really have what it takes to really get those properties. They have the money. And so the income level too is something that is a consideration, and the interest rates can also impact on the power of borrowing and so on. So it affects both the buyer and the seller. So if you are today we are focusing on selling. So we should also know that this is one of the factors, especially in Nigeria, that can affect. And we also have population growth, where we have rapid growing population, increased demand for housing. Of course, we look at Nigeria market, we say that there is always an opportunity because we have a growing population. We don't have a limitation to the number of children that people can have. So you can see one person having 50 children, and we'll just rejoice with the person that, oh, this person is, And what I'm trying to say is that the market looks good, that in the sense that we always have reason to want to provide, because that's one of the basic things that I need, that any human being wants, like where to stay, apart from maybe what to eat and what to wear. And then it also means that when we now have a rapid growing population, and it may not even be by the number of beds, it also can be by people moving. You now have areas like Lagos, like Abuja and Port Harcourt. So that can really affect the demand for housing. And then we have the infrastructure development. Of course, what used to inspire some people to move, or many people to move, is because of maybe where we have a provision of more amenities and where they can do business. Yes. So it's one thing to consider when you want to sell a house. And also you consider government policy, very key. There are many places, although I may not be able to mention it, there are few places, let me use few places, that are attractive now in Nigeria. But when you look at the government policies there, you are kind of discouraged. Do you really want to invest, or do you want to stay in that kind of place? Is it okay? And then we also have the supply and demand. Right from the days of economics, we know that supply and demand is a key thing, for even goods, like the consumables, not to talk about the housing. So the demand for housing sometimes can make it a seller's market, and the supply can also make it now a buyer's market. So these are potential factors that can affect. And in my next slide here, I have the overview of the selling process. I'm just going to read through it because everything that I've said or that I'm going to say is going to fall into one of this, but this is just the process from the beginning. When you decide to sell your home, there must be this decision to sell. I'll still talk more about it. Then you have to meet a trade advisor. So someone to advise you here is the real estate professional. Yeah, then you can go into the market analysis, talking about, oh, is it the buyer or the seller, or what advantage do I have, what factor is limiting me, or what loophole, if I can use that word, can I take advantage of to really sell my property? And then we also have, you must prepare. Preparation is key. So I'm still going to talk about it when we talk about your presentation of the house or the property that you want to sell. And then we have the marketing and the showing. I know that showing maybe is not common in this part of the world, but it also means that, accessibility for people to be able to access that property and then inspect. We have the offer and the negotiation, the contract and the closing, and then the property is sold. So it's just a process. So why do people sell? There are many reasons why people want to sell their houses. Remember that we're talking about how do we sell our house, and then property. Then we have job transfer that may require relocation, and even some, like the Japa syndrome. There was a time I saw a building online, although that it's not everything online that you can really maybe agree with, for lack of a better word, like believe in. But I saw it, and it was the building was looking so fantastic. And although it wasn't in a location like maybe Ikoyi or this, it was in outskirts of, and they were saying that this building is 5 million. It was looking fantastic. That is a distress sale. The person wants to relocate. It was when that Japa time was. So I was just thinking that, oh, I wish that this person can see a real estate person and then maybe in his area or somebody, and then give it to them. Maybe they can provide money and then retain the house, maybe put it on rent for him, and he can gain. But it was distress because this person, the amount for people who have experience in relocating, you just need all the money sometimes. So people can relocate either by work or they want to go in search of better life or other things. And divorce and separation can lead to a quick sale. Like, of course, when you have husband and wife passing ways, and then maybe it was a joint investment, maybe by the way of the cash that has been expensed or by documents. So everybody said this one we can't come back again, so we need to sell the property, and we also need to sell it quickly. So facing financial difficulty in paying a mortgage, car loans, this might not be common in Nigeria, but I believe I'm not just speaking to Nigeria audience because it's online. So we also have maybe credit card or household bills. Sometimes some people can fall into financial difficulties that you are surprised that they want to just sell a house and then so that they can pay their bills. The house owner also prefer buying a new house instead of spending huge amounts on major repairs. Yes, it is possible. It's possible that the house is big and it's like, and the repairs is just so enormous. They might feel that, let me just sell, maybe I get a better place, or let me sell and then go for rentage for now. I know that tomorrow will be okay. So the loss of a loved one is a traumatic one and distressing situation that makes some people to sell. Although when you look, why some people really sell sometimes is they feel that living, some might think that living in that same house is kind of a disloyalty or it affects their emotion, whatsoever is the reason. But the truth is that people sell properties when they have a loss. People want to sell their inherited property fast due to unforeseen cost of other financial difficulties. And not just for this reason, some just, okay, recently somebody gave us a property that is an inherited property, and one part is agreeing that let us sell, another one is agreeing that let's retain the property. But the majority are saying, please, we don't want complication, let's sell and everybody share your money and go. So people might want to sell their inherited property. And we also have for investment purposes or purpose where we have the property investors. These are people who really want to buy property and then resell. They might not really be into property business, but maybe they just want to take advantage of, they have seen the way the economy is going. They have seen that, oh, in future, oh, I could sell more than what I'm buying now. They can just sell it and leave it for some years or some months and then sell again. And we also have the property dealers and the builders. The developers are the people I'm referring to as the property dealers, the builders. To them, property is just like every other inventory to them because that is what they eat, they feel, and do. So they also sell property, they build to sell. So these are some of the reasons, yes, why people want to sell. So now comes the big question. Is now a good time to sell a house? If we're referring to the buyer, every time is a good time for the buyer if they have what it takes to buy a house, But when we now come to the seller, there are many situations that can, that they have to consider. The answer to this question depends on your personal circumstances as well as the state of property market that we have talked about. The seller might need to move for work relocation, could require a larger house like we have said. So it depends. So even if the current market is slightly in favor of the buyer, just like we say it is the buyer's market, there are steps the seller can take to make their property more sellable, And one of the reasons why maybe we have many houses, and I stand to be corrected, is because the seller feels that they are in control of the prices. And so we can fix price. We can decide to say, oh, bring 200 million today. I'm just using that as an example. And then when you come, they're now like, no, it's no longer 200, it's now 300 million. So, but our research and from our own experience shows that getting the price rightly is the first time is key. Pricing is always key because the buyer is not sleeping. The buyer too might be an investor. The buyer might be a developer. The buyer might be a builder. So they have to also analyze and see if it's worth an investment going to. 8 questions to ask before selling your house, your property. 8 questions you want to ask. The decision to sell. Have I decided to sell? Like I was trying to give an illustration. You find out that some people will tell you that, oh, we want to sell this property. Can you market this property? And then you now bring offers. And maybe they say, okay, the amount I want to sell you, or you have even advised them that, oh, your property can go for 1 billion, for instance. And then when you get someone with offer or close to that 1 billion, and they come again and say, no. Well, let me think about it. Let me think about it very well. This is Like the first thing you need to think about, do I really want to sell? Am I ready to sell? Because there are many reasons why people might be doubting whether to sell. Like I give example of someone who have lost a loved one. They might not, we say to people who have lost a loved one that don't take a major decision in the first 2 years, because you might be feeling like you're going crazy, because you're having a rush of emotion and you might not be thinking rightly, you know. And so I just use that as an example. It may not be only for them. And some people, it's just indecision. Like, oh, I want to sell today, tomorrow, I now see a reason why I'm not selling, you know. So you have to decide that you want to sell. Then, what is the best time of the year to sell? When I was discussing with one of my colleague was like, every time is a good time to sell. Yes, every time is a good time to sell if you have positioned yourself very well. Even if it is the buyer's market, it is a good time if you position yourself and you give the right pricing and you work with, you know, a professional. So it's the right time. But research has said that from November to April is really a better time to sell for one reason or the other, and especially in December, when December, January, you know, many people have maybe in the year, at the beginning of the year, they have a goal concerning property where they want to be in the new year, and so they want to buy properties. And then people also moving from maybe abroad to come into Nigeria to do some kind of investment. It might be a good time. And then for some reason, people also believe that selling your property in August might not really be the best time, because these people with money, the people that owns the money, that's the time they rest. And most of them may not be in at home. They may not be in Nigeria. They might have traveled out of Nigeria. There are other arguments that says that people don't have to be physically present, that they have representatives, but there are people that they have to see the property. They want to feel the property. They want to see themselves in the property. So if they are not available, so we can say that, oh, maybe August, when people are not, they're out of Nigeria, the people with the money to buy your property, that maybe a property might slow down. But I want to say that every time is a good time, but you know, you need to think about it. And then what is the property worth? What do I think that my property will worth? And then this is the reason, one of the key reasons why you should work with a professional, because on your own, you might be having a personal reason why you think that your property, you know, should worth this amount. You might be looking at, oh, this is where I grew up. I know the investment, I know the neighborhood, I know what it takes, or this is my financial level. This property must be able to solve all my problem. Emotions might come in. So, but you know, buyers don't really, I know that decision to buy is both rational and, you know, emotional, but most of the time the buyers look at it critically. So you should be able to tell yourself the truth, or get a professional to advise you. What does it cost to sell a property like my own? So there are few costs or costs that are attached to selling, maybe in terms of upgrading the house, if where necessary, repairing your house where necessary. And you should also know that if you are going to engage a professional, of course, it's not going to be free. So should I use a professional real estate agent? The answer will be yes, 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 always, because you are safe, you'll be happy, you have peace of mind using a professional. What can I do if my house is not selling? This is also where a professional we will have advised you. If you are overpricing your house, if you have over, you know, capitalized your house, you will have known, because you are using, you know, a professional. What document do I need to complete the process? Of course, there are documents that you need. I'll still talk about documents. So because if you have the right document, you know, when we start, we talk about selling your house to attract the most buyer. There are people, or the people that has this money. You know, when your property does not have a document, they might not look at you. Some might not look at you like serious, like you're not serious, or they might look like they don't want to pass through the process of getting, you know. And then if you don't have a complete, or you don't even have document at all, your property cannot really command as such. So common mistakes. What are common mistakes that people make when selling a property? Selling property on your own. You are not a real estate professional. You don't know about property. You know, it's always good to follow the people that know the way. So it's not just when we hear this phrase, follow people, follow those who know the way. It's not just in property. Like stay on your lane. You're an accountant, for instance. You are not a, so what? How many? Even if you want to say, oh, they did property this while you were in school, how much do you know about the property? Do you know the streets? Do you know the neighborhood and so on? So selling on your own sometimes can be something that will affect. And working with the wrong real estate agents, you have to work with professionals. You have to be able to be sure that they are registered. You know, overpricing your property, yes, I've talked about that, and overcapitalizing. Like, you feel that, I want my property to command so all the money you have in your bank account, or you borrow money and you pay, I say, everybody bring your money, don't worry, when I repair this house, we'll be in a better place. And maybe you did not even consider your neighborhood, your location, because you may have a fantastic house, you may have upgraded your house, but if you're in a wrong location, it might affect the value. Listen at the wrong time. Yes, like maybe when sometimes your property, if it's in a flooded area and you want to sell, it might be a factor. You might sell at the end of the day, but you might not get, the kind of profit or the kind of income that you have gotten if you sell it maybe during the dry season. Yes, misjudging the cost of selling. The fact that I said that don't overcapitalize your property does not mean that you will not. Some will just ordinary cleaning. They don't want to spend money cleaning, cutting the grasses. They're like, anybody that want to buy it will buy it. Yes, since you are looking for anybody, you are going to get anyhow money. You understand? So you are not going to be able to maximize. But as professional, if you want to maximize, make sure the environment is clean. You might not be able to do the major of it. Of course, you are not the government, but at least your own compound, the cleanliness and so on. So don't say, I don't want to spend any money. And for some people that are like this, like, I don't want to, they might have reason why they don't want to spend any money. But do you know that if you work with professional, we can go to an extent to even spend the money for you because we are sure that you are going to sell this property. That's one of the advantages that you can have. So not advertising your property, maybe it's only people around you that knows, and everybody around you, there are some places that everybody around you, they already have their own house. They may not even be looking at, or they may not, for one reason or the other, they may not be interested in buying your own house. So you need to advertise, not reading the contract, just signing. It can be an can be implicating, and lack of basic cleaning, like I've said, unrealistic demand, full of emotion and sentiment, like, this is where I grew up, this is the problem I have, so this house must solve my problem. So those are kind of mistakes that one can make trying to sell a house. So now we'll come up to a major aspect: confirm ownership and legal documentation. Before you sell, look at your survey plan. If it's an environment, so that's your survey plan must outline your own property, the location and where your own property stored. That will even enable you to get your certificate, the C of O, if you don't already have. And then from there, you can do a governor's consent, telling the government, informing them that, you as the owner of this property, you want to now transfer to that person. And if a property already have a C of O, of course, the C of O is only issued once and in the same name, but then the person who wants to buy, you need to transfer to the person. So maybe you have to now give the person the deed of assignment. Then your tax clearance, your land use charges are also an important document that you need to have. Work with a trusted real estate. I've said that before. Yes. Work with it and no peace. Work with a professional and no peace. Where you can sell your property independently, working with a licensed and experienced real estate agent in Nigeria can be invaluable. It's something that will give you peace because there are many scammers around. So a good a good agent understands the local market, have access to network of potential buyer. When they see your property, they already know who they can even, offer this property for. They are not waiting for people that will come tomorrow and today they are saying no. You already know because in their experience working with people, they already have people in their network that they know that some people might have even reached out to them to say, please, when this kind of house come out, please, I want to buy. So it's a yes. And then if you want to get a real estate agent, you must check their track record. It's not just that I am qualified. You know, you must check. If possible, if they are not popular and you don't know them, ask for references to be on the safe side, and then ensure that they are registered with the appropriate regulatory body, like the Nigerian Institution of what Estate Surveyor and Valuer, like we have in Nigeria. Wherever you might be, maybe you are not in Nigeria, look for people. You know that the real estate has to be regulated, so you must look out for people who are registered. And what determines the value of your house, other property in your area, and the asking price of those properties. That's why I say location is important. Like I said, the law of demand and supply will also come to play if, you know, yeah, the seller needs greatly impact on the selling price of the property. But you know, as a seller, like I said, you can't use emotion. So it is not just a cut and dry. So there are things that, you know, there are movement within the market that will actually determine the value of your house. Prepare your property for sale. You know, you have to check the paint, if they are worn out, if it's something. I know that, for instance, when we look at the market, I talk about the developers and I talk about the builders. You know, I know that these days there are many developments building, you know, that we have around developers, and those people they are not much interested in new houses. You know, they want a old house that, you know, that what they are really interested in is what is the land. So if you are in that location, maybe for instance Lekki area, and you have an old house, you know that there is no need trying to paint, trying to decorate, because these people are going to pull down the building, you know. So then you need to know the kind of seller that you want to really attract, or what is happening in your environment. So, but if it's an environment where you know that you still need to upgrade the house before it can be presented, so you need to check the paint, you need to check the walls, the window, the basic cleaning, unfinished. Don't just leave it and feel that, oh, they will buy it. If Mr. A did not buy, Mr. B will buy. But you know what you are trying to do is that you are trying to get the best out of the market. So you have to do the basic cleaning. Okay, so here we'll talk about the marketing techniques. If you have engaged a real estate professional, they'll take all this off you, so you don't have problem. Like in your building or your property, you have to get a professional photographer that will have a good quality of the picture, so that it looks attractive. Even when people cannot visit it physically, just looking at it in the picture, they can imagine themselves in the house, or they can imagine being the owner of that house. Online listing, very, very important. Social media is a deal now that you have to engage both the local and both the traditional and the social media method of marketing. And you also have to put for sale on your building. Like if you have engaged a professional, they will do that for you. Sometimes we go beyond just putting a banner. Sometimes we build a billboard, depending on, you know. So engage the real estate agent to do all of that for you. So understanding the buyer psychology. You know, selling, like I said, is not just about the listing, it's an emotional thing. So selling a house is not just about putting up for sale sign and waiting for offer to come. It's a complex process. And then if you engage a real estate professional that are able to know, you know, to take this parts off you, because you have peace of mind, like I said. So, and also it's emotional attachment and letting go is more than a house. Yes, what I'm trying to say here when we talk about the psychology is that it's just more than putting the board, it's more than selling. For some, like I've just been repeating it, that some, it is their inherited. Okay, I even have an example of someone who wanted to sell a house, but he was emotionally attached to that house, that environment, that neighborhood, because that was where he grew up. No, but because he engaged a professional, they advised him that, oh, yes, you can still be in this environment. And then you don't necessarily have to even sell. You can do what we call a JV. You can do a joint venture where the builders, the investor come and, you know, developer come and develop it for you. You still have some to even rent out. And he did. And today he has peace of mind. He's happy because some might have, you know, attachment to it. And we also have the decision making, which is both rational and emotion. So if you engage a professional that are able to take this off you. Buyer perception, the power of first impression. I've said that before. You need to clean up your house. You need to make it, like you need to look at it. Oh, if I am, now I know that you want to sell your house, but if you are the buyer, will you buy? Like some people, it's not possible for people to be selling what they cannot eat. That would be wickedness, right? So if you want to sell a house, look at it. If I'm the one that have this money, or this money I want to sell it now, if I am having it to buy this property, will I buy it? So, and when people come, research has even said, if I'm not lying, that in 60 seconds, people can just see the building and know if they want to deal or not. So, but you can make you can prepare your building so that the first time that the person is seeing it, they can just get attracted to it. And then you need to understand your buyer's type so that, I talk about reason why people sell. And in the reason why people sell, sometimes you don't have the time, you don't have all of the time. And sometimes people still have the time to wait and say, oh, let me see if I can get more offer and then I can be in a better place. For instance, someone who wants to japa they want to relocate and they need money to complete the process. They don't really have time. Therefore, they need to understand the type of clients that are out there. We have what we call the reluctant client. These clients may never buy. They are just so you just end up wasting time. So you need to know when you offer them or when you see them come around, you already know that you need the psychology to know. And we also have the certain client. This buyer will know exactly what features and benefits she needs and what price she prepared to pay. So now you just need to offer them. And this one, how to really know them are people who have been in the business. They know these clients, oh, you will be interested in this property. This is the price. And then we also have the analytical clients. This one, they want to move slowly to be sure they are making right decision, but it's not left for you. Do you have the time to wait for them? The relationship type, they want to create a relationship first, before they can make commitments. Do you have the time to wait? If you have the time, fine. And the directive client, this buyer is very busy, is a business-like and practical. Focus on bottom line, exactly how the product will help. Just like I said, that selling is not just selling. Selling is providing solution, creating, meeting a need. So you want to know the money is not the problem, you just want to know, how will this property help me? What investment, what will I be able to gain when buy this? So they are the directive client. And so if you want to attract those people, so then you also have this social client. These buyers, they are talkative, but they are friendly. You have to be positive and open, because you can just meet them without plan. If you agree to purchase, be sure to get it in writing immediately. Of course, you need to document, but this one you need extra documentation, because after making commitment, they might forget, because they might just think, oh, you're playing. So no, you also need to understand the type of buyers that will have. Then will come to the offer. What makes an offer acceptable? Is the proposed offer near the asking price? We're still talking about, did you overprice, your property? And the time frame of the seller, I've talked about it, so I don't need to waste time here. And other financial obligations, so if they need to meet financial obligation, time to wait for more potential buyer. Do you have that time to wait? If the home is listed and never received a single offer, what happens? So you now need to check. We now need to go back to the round table and check, why is it that my property is in the market and nobody is buying? Is it a general problem? Is it because we now have so many inventories, so or is it because of the price, or is my location? Do I need a little readjustment on what I'm marketing? What if several offers are received at the same time? Yes, it's not just about selling. For your own peace too, you need to know who you are selling to some extent. You need to know, it's not just, I have money, because the fear of EFCC is also the beginning of wisdom. So if you have many offers, so you have advantage. So you need to check very well and know who you really want to sell. It's not just about, oh, this is the highest bidder. Oh yeah, let me go for it. Except you are sure that the highest bidder is not going to give you the highest problem. So seal the deal, negotiate, review, and accept the offer. The negotiating process can at times seems very complicated, but if you engage a professional, you will be at peace. During the negotiating process of sale of property, the seller can react. You can decide to accept the buyer's proposed offer. It's your property, and you can decide to decline. So, but make sure that you have good reason to decline, because sometimes you have people who maybe they had a good offer because they have not decided, they're indecisive if they want to sell, and then they have to wait for many months to see something close to that. And sometimes at the end of the day, they may not even be able to get that offer, that an amount like the first offer. And you can also do a new counter offer if there is a genuine reason to do that. Then review offers. You must carefully review your offers. That's how to handle your offers. And then you do a counter offer. Make sure that there is documentation. It's beyond the money. Make sure that you have all the corresponding, and it's not the one they will text you on what do you call it, WhatsApp. No, let's have a letter, the offer, their responses, and accepting an offer. That's if you see it. And then the legal and financial consideration. Like I said, it's always good to work with a professional. If you have some issue with your document, maybe your sale of all is lost, it's something that you can process. You can go to outside this Lagos and then try to do or you can hire someone to just you can hire a lawyer, a property lawyer, to do the necessary documentation for you. Closing the deal. So when you have done every other thing, you now know that it's time to, so maybe you have accepted the offer. At this point, of course, you have accepted it. Then you go through the documentation again. Be sure that what you are signing is the right thing, what you are giving out is the right thing. Walk through the house again. That's maybe if you are emotionally attached to the house, maybe you can feel all the emotion and know that this house is no longer your house. The next time you are coming, you are going to be a visitor. You are going to knock before you enter. So, and then you do your transfer of ownership, and I put it here like receive payment. Sometimes the receive of payments can even come before the transfer of ownership. Depends on who is involved and the agreement. And ensure, it's a cashless economy. So I don't know, it's cashless. So you're supposed to collect your money through the bank, and ensure that when someone says I've paid, don't just send your document. Check with your banker, because you can have an alert. Like I used to tell people, that alert in your hand does not mean that you have money in your bank account. So you need to check and be sure. Then, in conclusion, 9 reasons why you need a trusted real estate professional. 9 reasons. It's act as an expert guide. They can guide you. It's just like, why do you need a lawyer? And the truth is that, sometimes people celebrate, oh, I want the case, I want the case. It's not everyone that want the case were actually pure, if I can use it. But because they have hired a lawyer, and to yourself, when you get to a lawyer, you have to be true. If you are guilty, tell your lawyer, I am guilty, or this is all that I have done. But I want to win this case. So this is not a judgment truth. So I'm not talking about either it's correct or not, but I'm saying that because someone has hired a lawyer, the lawyer will take all the issue and the defense. So, but if someone says I will not hire a lawyer, I believe they will not even listen to the person. You have to come to you with your lawyer, or if they listen. But I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how those things work, but I know that you need someone. And sometimes when you even have an issue with police, they'll say, come with your lawyer, or you see somebody say, I want to call my lawyer, or I have to go with my lawyer. So same thing when you come to property, then you need a trusted real estate. Remember, please underline the word trusted. Not just someone say, I'm a real estate professional. Are they trusted? Are they been tested? Do you know them? Offer objective information and opinion. They offer you objective information. They are not biased, because this is the business they are doing. So there is no sentiment, give you an expanded search power. Like I said, they have many people in their network just sitting down and looking at your property. They know who they can offer your property. People that maybe as a seller, you might not have opportunity to meet now that you want to sell your property, but they can just, with a call, they can open the door, and then your property is going to stand in your corner during negotiation. Yes. Because of course you are going to pay fee. So if you don't have good money, how will you pay fee? So ensure an up-to-date experience, they are going to help you using their experience, and also be your rock during emotional moments, either from the buyer or for you yourself. They will help you go through that process, that now is the time to sell, and they might also give you an advice. If not to, it's not every property that comes that you just say, oh, sell, sell, sell. They can give you an advice. Why do you want to sell now? Oh, maybe you just lost someone. Why not give it some time? Are you sure about the decision? But if you just give it to anyhow person, they might not be interested in all of that. Provide fair and ethical treatment, because they are professional. They have something to lose. Yes. So it's not a perfect world out there, and your property may not be perfect too. The world itself is not perfect. So your property may not be perfect. It might even be in a wrong location. It might be in a flooded area. But when you engage a professional, they know how to go about it, because that is what they do. Follow those who know roads, follow the people. I like this phrase, follow the people that know in anything that you are doing. Don't say, I can do this, I can do that. Except if you have gotten experience in that area, it's always better to follow the professionals. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Moji. Thank you so very much for that wonderful presentation. Very wonderful, and there's quite a whole lot of talking points, if I may say, and we're going to go into it. And for those of our listeners, we want to say thank you for listening, and I'm sure it's been a wonderful presentation for me. I had a few things I wrote down here. So for our guests and people on this call, I said earlier on when we started, should you have questions, you can please show by raising your hand. We're going to, or you even have comments, we can also bring you up so that you can make your comments briefly, and then we'll take it off from there. If you could put your question in the chat box, and we're also going to take the questions. So, but by and large, it's been a wonderful, you can now see, I think Moji said something very instructive where he talked about selling process can be very complex, and exactly that is what it is. And if you look at our let me not say generation, but maybe that's the way it's always been. Everybody wants it, and that's why the business of real estate, unfortunately, so you have everybody wants to jump in because they just believe somebody wants to sell a property, you can sell the property. Hey, this man wants to sell, I have somebody, I can tell somebody, and the next thing you take your 5% and all that. So people usually want to jump all of this process. They don't know what it is all about. And unfortunately, again, maybe that's why we have all the issues that we have with for lack of maybe the right word, the quacks and all that. And we can see what the government in various states are trying to do just because of some of these challenges that we see here and there. So I mean, it's a wonderful. I'm trying to check the chat box. I think, okay, just seeing a few persons trying to job well done. All right. So, but please, you can also drop a question. And again, I said you can raise your hand if you want to make comments or you want to share experience or you want in the few times that we have, we can take a few comments and maybe questions. So let's get into it. I have like while she was making a presentation, I have like 3 talking points here. And then I'm going to ask, and permit me also, I think on this call, I have our principal partner is also here. If you can, please from the back end, I want you to bring in Mr. Emeka DLA to just be on the, also, if Tokwe, if you can help me bring Mr. Ele up to so that we can have these talking points together alongside with what Muji had actually explained. Is it a possibility? Can we have Mr. Okay, great. I can see that Mr. Ele is also there. And Mojito, if we can have your video on, if it's possible, so that we can take all of those things. Thank you very much. Okay, so I would like to ask this question, or maybe ask Mr. Ele to weigh in on this. While Moji was talking, she talked about some people, some people wants to sell, and she rolled out the instances of what you can do to actually sell your property quickly. You talked about the need to to sell board where necessary, to engage the professionals and all that. But there's this major issue, and I want Mr. Taylor to weigh into this. There's this myth about selling, selling of properties, where you have people where, when you say you want to sell your property in this part of the world, people think that you're under a spell or you're under a curse, That's usually, culturally. And I think Moji also talked about that, where she talked about emotional attachment to a property and all of that. So I want Ms. Tyler, is it possible for you to address this myth that we have in this issue of selling of property, where people don't want you, for example, to let other people know that they want to sell their property. They've made up the decision to sell, right? But they don't want you, or they don't want every other person to know they want to sell, and yet they really want to sell. So how do we, in practice, how do we handle situations of this nature? Mr. Ele, I don't know if you can hear me and if you can weigh into this briefly, sir. You're muted, Mr. Ele. Okay, if not, Bamoji, if you want to speak to that before we can get if Mr. Ele is available, yeah, please. Moji, do you want to address that briefly?
Okay. So can you hear me now?
Oh yes, we can hear you, sir. Yes, you're welcome, sir. We can hear you now, sir. We can hear you, sir. Please go on, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start by commending Moji for the presentation. It's been very detailed and very well delivered. Thank you so much, Moji. Coming to the question you asked, Sonjo, it's a cultural issue. People don't seem to want others to know that they want to sell, more because they feel that selling a property is a sign of weakness. It goes to the cultural issues or cultural importance attached to a property. People tend to feel like it's something that should not be sold, which is why I'm sure some people actually, I'm sure you've seen some wills and where the benefactor or the owner or the father will say the property must not be sold. Those are very wrong conceptions. Property is an asset, and assets can be sold and resold as the need arises to solve a problem. And therefore, even though culturally people tend to shy away from selling or having people know they're selling, but like you rightly said, it is what it is. If you want to sell your property, the best way to do it is to do it properly. And I always liken it to other kinds of investments. You want to sell your shares in First Bank or Airtel, you're not going to be hiding about it. You're going to give it to the best stockbroker in town to go to the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange and get the best price possible. In the same way, if you want to sell your car, I'm sure you will advertise it properly to get the very best price for your car. It is much the same way with real estate. If you want to sell it as attached as you may be to it, once the decision is made to sell, your best bet is to allow the process to run smoothly and openly. It's only by so doing that you can get the best price. If you don't market the property properly and spread the word that it's for sale, you may not just get the right offers or the best price. And as practitioners or professionals, we see this every day. And it's our duty to educate the sellers, the vendors. It's like the issue of hanging a sign on the house. They feel that once you hang a sign on the house, it may show that they are desperate to sell or no. It is not. A sign on a house, either for sale or for lease, is only a marketing tool. It's only just telling the world that this property is available. So that those passing by, those that see it will know that yes, this is available. And therefore, with all the cultural issues people have about letting people know they're selling, believe you me, there's nothing there. It is what it is. If you're selling, you're selling. And again, it is because our market is not yet dynamic. So people hold on to a property for life. In developed economies where the market is fluid, people hardly will stay in the same house forever. Because even if you build a house as you're raising your family, when your family enlarges. If you go from yourself and your wife to a child, you probably will buy a different one to accommodate a larger family. By the time you have 4, 5 children and they've all left home, you downsize to a smaller one. And therefore, in those economies, selling is a constant issue. People just have to keep selling. Because at some point, you're buying a small one. At some point, you're expanding to a bigger one. At some point, you're moving to a new area. At some point, you're downsizing to somewhere else you want to spend your retirement in with just you and your wife. And therefore, for them, it's normal. And that's where we must get to here. Sentiments aside, the best way to sell is to open the property in the market, advertise it if you will, and get the best price from the open market. Thank you, Sonja. I hope I've addressed the question.
Oh, yes, you have. And thank you very much, Ms. Fele. I will still come back to you because there's something I will also need your your experience to it. You still need to. There's another question or an area I want to weigh in. Let me come back to Moji on this now. You did talk about this process very well, and in your analysis, I see that, which is in your presentation, you did mention the importance why it is very necessary, why it is very necessary for property sellers or would be to engage professionals. So the question is going to be, why is it that people find it difficult? Why is it that people find it difficult to actually engage professionals in doing this? Would you say, is it because they don't want to pay? Or is it because is it like penny wise, 10 pounds foolish? Or, what will be from your presentation? I know you addressed this also, but what would it be? What would you say with regards to why the people don't want to engage professionals?
Thank you very much for that wonderful question. I think one of the major reasons is, I don't want to use a harsh word, maybe ignorance. And people always assume that when you hear professional maybe they are going to take the larger share of the money. And so I think we need to create more awareness for people to understand. And when people don't know the why, if they don't know the why of a thing, they may not be able to really, so they don't know the advantages of engaging a professional. And that's why we need to create more awareness. So they just feel that, maybe because there are people who have properties, especially maybe for inherited properties, they might not be educated. And so sometimes they see these educated or professional people as if they are God, there are people that they cannot approach. But it's always best. In fact, there's an illustration in anything that we're doing. It's always best to kind of follow the professional way. And some people understand that, they even know why they should use a professional, but they don't want to pay any money. They feel that, I can sell it by myself, I can do it by myself, I want to minimize cost. And so there's this maybe it's not a perfect example, but it's very funny, but I just want to give an illustration of why we should always use a professional. I remember so many years ago in Kano State. In fact, the area is called Dakata. And for women, we understand this very well. You know that towards the festive period, December period, when children are on holiday, they want to, like, ordinarily the students they are not allowed to palm their hair and do so. They want to do that because it's not festive period. And then there's what we call the relaxer that you can buy to palm your hair. But there's this one that people sell around, very cheap. It's not expensive. It's always white. It's like butter. So one day, and where I was standing in one place, really, and then we saw somebody rushing, as if they are rushing somebody to an hospital, but they were rushing the young lady to the salon. And guess what has happened? They didn't want to pay coming to salon to do the right thing. They bought the one on the roadside, and then they want to palm the hair. So they now saw that it was going out of hand, because as they are washing the hair, everything was falling off. And then they now come back to the professional. So anyone who wants to sell their house and feel that they don't want to use the professional, the same thing that happened to this young lady might at the end of the day happen to them. And I also have another illustration where someone was trying to even sell. It's not even about the seller. The seller was trying to sell. He has engaged a professional, and then comes the buyer, and then the seller now discovered that he has lost a C of O, and they were trying to do documentation, and the buyer just felt that the seller was wasting time. He cannot wait, You know, this thing come to, you cannot wait for what the professionals are doing. And then you saw an advert somewhere that, oh, this one is ready, and they paid 200 million. And at the end of the day, it was scam. So all these stories are just to illustrate the importance of using a professional, and not just a professional, like someone that you have seen, you have tested, you have trusted, or others have maybe through referrals. So you know that these people have been in business and then working with them is safe. And I think another reason why people don't want to also work with professionals is that of this trust. There's you know, they don't really, because of maybe some experience that other people have had working with people who said they are professionals, you know. So there's this trust that issue that they don't have with anyone wearing suit, anyone say they are professional. They might, at the end of the day, all they're out for is to cheat. But it's not like that. It's just getting the right person. I don't know if I've been able to answer the question.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's interesting though, because we cannot shy away. This is more or less like being penny wise and pounds foolish, where you're going to sell a property worth, for example, it's 200 million, and or you're going to buy and you don't want to part with. I mean, at the end of the day, maybe I think a lot more awareness, but we've seen a lot of people who have actually had issues trying to do these things on their own. And could it be the reason why we still have quite a lot of properties still in the market, why people can also quickly before we go into that question, I mean, I have two more talking points before we begin to wrap up. I can see that the hand is raised. Please, can you bring Ibukun Ushikoya to the panel? I don't know. Yes, you have a question. Can you unmute yourself, introduce yourself, ask your question or make your comment, then we can then move on.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Thank
ma'am.
you so much. This is very insightful, very, very interesting. So I want to ask a question because it's really happened to me. When you were talking about making sale or property as in open, someone gave me a property to market. He's an uncle of my husband. So when we checked the property, I had to put like a small banner, just the name of someone's contact and the phone number. Before I got home, it's around that Lekki exit. Before I got home, I started receiving a lot of calls that they want to see the person that owns that land. Who owns the land? Why does he want to sell it? This, I was like, someone gave me this property to sell. And before you know what was happening, a lot of, in fact, let me say the transaction could not move forward because I think it attracted some people. It attracted some people. As of today, the land has been taken, maybe by government, I don't know, or by the community, that they want to open a road. This Calabar coastal road is so close to them, but they need to open another road within the street. So they took the land. So the man was like, look, I told you that we shouldn't make it open. We should have market, you know, done your marketing privately and sell it privately. So now I want to ask, is it really, you know, you talked about making property marketing open. Is it really ideal to make it open or you can just sell privately so that you won't attract people that you should not attract, like the Omoniles and other parties? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Very interesting and great question. Mr. Ele, are you still there? Do you want to weigh in into what, because I recall this was the exact question I asked earlier on when I started by saying, and you answered very well. So, but in this particular case, in this special case that Ibukun talked about, what is your view? How would you address this situation?
Thank you, Sonjo. Either way, whether or not you did it privately or openly, I mean, the vendor may have a problem if in the end the land is taken by the government or the community and all that. Open sales are better because you advertise it in the open market and you're more prone to get the best buyer, which is property. The main platform of Moji's delivery is that if you do A, B, C, D, you could get the best price for what you're selling. And I think that every seller or every agent or professional, as the case may be. Of course, sometimes you may do, there are private sales you can do by private treaty and all that. and you may still be able to achieve the right price. You may do there are other means of selling. You can do by sales bids or by direct talk discussion with people who may want to buy, which you are referring to a closed kind of bid. But I assure you, either way you do it, the truth is that the open one gives the best price. But even if you do it like in your own instance, through a private treaty or close sale, and in the end, the property is taken by the government or for whatever reason, the vendor is still liable to make a refund because, I mean, in a typical sale contract, there will be caveats by the purchaser against any loss. It will all be there. So whichever the case may be, if you are done privately and the village or the community or attacks and takes over a refund or to sort out the buyer, it's the issue of what should the agent or professional do at the beginning, and before you even start marketing, what do you need to do? The issue of reviewing the title and the documentation. Because if you did, you probably would have missed what eventually happened transparently later on. It's incumbent upon us as professionals to always review the documentation for any property we are selling. If it's a C of O, if you can do a search, it doesn't cost so much, so you know it's available for sale. If there is no title, no registered title, it's even more incumbent on you to do more because then you must deep digger by talking to all those concerned in the community to be sure the land is actually available for sale. And of course, like in this instance, if you looked at it and it falls within a setback or the drainage line, then you must ask. There are things you must do at the very beginning to be sure the property is truly marketable. Those are the initial things that Moji talked about with regards to reviewing the documentation to be sure that what is being sold can actually be sold. I mean, I've seen properties being sold that maybe you may not know. You may even have a copy of the CFO, but the property is in court. There's a matter in court, and when it's in court, you really cannot tell because nobody wants to buy litigation. So beyond reviewing documents, it's also interviewing the vendor to say, look, what are their issues about this property? Is there any matter in court concerning it? And is there any long lease on it? It's only when you have all this information that you can satisfy yourself you've done all diligence put it in the market. And I think if we take time, whether it's Ibukun or someone else, if you do all this before you start marketing, then issues like this may not arise. But I assure you, we didn't do anything wrong because, like I said, even if you sold it to the man's brother, the vendor's brother or sister or friend in a closed transaction, and the government came forward and took the land or the villagers attack and say you can't move in, the vendor, based on normal sale contract, will still be liable to make a refund to the buyer because it's normally covered by the sale contract. Thank you. I hope I've addressed the question.
Oh, yes, Sam. Thank you, sir. Please
Yes.
still, Mr. Let's still stay. There's still one more question I'm going to ask you later. Ibukun, I think that's, and this, the challenges of this situation is for you, for example, this experience going further, if one is not careful, it impacts on what you do next, even when the situations are different. And I'm glad that Mr. Lee is able to explain this properly, because what naturally will happen is, let's just imagine, just as this transaction didn't sell through, somebody else is call you to sell the property. You will in your mind that God forbid I will never place it. Right away. That's
Yeah.
what, and that's what from over time you discover that that's what brings about what you call this wall, so to say, begins to form a strongholds in our minds to think that, oh, because this happened, it will happen subsequently. But again, like Mr. Ellis said, regardless if you had sold without placing the board, the problem will still come back, right? And it's good that thank you very much. I hope you can
Thank you so much.
I hope that answers.
Yeah.
I hope you were able to
Very
answer
well,
that
very
question.
well. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
Okay.
Great. All right. So we'll soon be wrapping up. I saw that somebody raised their hand. I think thank you, but okay, I think the hand is down. Maybe the question had been answered. So let me ask just about two more things and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so when Moji was making her presentation, she did talk about putting your house, preparing your house, doing it well so that you can sell and all of that. So, Mr. Ele, I want to ask you, and this basically from your experience, because when people come, people tell you, everybody wants to do agency work. 5%, I can sell. So they don't mind. They think it's just a walk in the park, right? Give you property today, tomorrow you will sell it, next tomorrow you collect your fee and you go back, you do the same thing. And so within a month, you can sell 3 or 4 properties and you become a billionaire over the night. That's usually the mindset. So, Mr. I want to ask you, from your own experience, how long, averagely, I know this may be a tough question, but again, you've been in this game for a long time, and I should ask you, how long would you say averagely it takes to sell a property if all these processes are in place? Also, if these processes are not in place, what are the implications? The processes Moji told us about. If all the processes are in place, averagely, from experience and from your years of doing this work, how long would you think it takes to sell a property?
Thank you, Sonjo. Again, it's a bit difficult to be categorical. How long
Your line is breaking, sir.
take? I mean, there are many factors that will play in here. Based on location and demand and supply condition, and some of the other issues that Moji mentioned, vis-a-vis economic is like Dolphin Estate, for instance. Okay, it is difficult to be categorical with regards to how long
Okay, I think Ms. Taylor's line is, I think there's a problem with the network, right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, I think we can hear you now. It's better a bit. Okay.
I don't know.
I think
Can
this.
you hear me now, Sonjo?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please, yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay, so I was saying that it's a bit difficult to answer categorically to how into play. That is the location, the demand, and of course the general economic conditions of the country. I mean, if you look at it, things are not going so well right now. The economy is down, the purchasing power of the population, the levels are very, very high. So it's a problem. And so this fact ensure that it is appropriately priced in terms. I mean, I recall that Muji talked about you don't fix a price.
Wow. Network is really, really bad. Maybe I'll come back. If we're able to get Ms. Taylor, maybe we'll come back. I think the network is really, really bad. But please, I can see that the hand is raised here. We'll be wrapping up shortly. I think I got what Mr. Taylor was saying earlier on. He said a few things about the question was, I mean, how long will it take? He's trying to explain to saying it takes what the demand and the supply situation is at a particular point in time, what the general economic condition of the nature is, the nation is. He also talked about the location of the property. And so it might be difficult to put a particular, from what I get, it may be particular to say, oh, you can sell this property in 2 months. So let's be careful when you get a product. The essence for that question actually is for people, we over promise, right? You want to sell somebody's property and say, so just give me this property. in 2 weeks I will sell it, right? I mean, that most times may not be the case, considering some of those factors that, I mean, Mr. Ele just explained to us. The general economics, I mean, the pricing, is the pricing okay? What is the purchasing power of the people? Those are the things that needed to be factored in. So it might be difficult to particularly say this is what is going to take, for the number of weeks or times or months for you to sell the property and all that, if all the conditions are right. I can see that this hand is still raised. Let's take this question quickly, or his comment. Oyewale Kehinde, please can you bring him up to the panelists? And Oyewale from the background, please bring Oyewale Kehinde up, and let's take his comment and question as we begin to wrap up. Please, Oyewale Kehinde, can you unmute yourself and introduce yourself, make your comment or ask your question?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Oyewale Kehinde. Can you hear me?
Very well, we can hear you, sir.
Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I just wanted to add to the reason why people might sell their property, their house, due to maintenance. Maybe the owner, the client, cannot maintain the property again, so might decided to sell it. And also, in an uncompleted project, maybe the developer or the client do not have finance to finance the project, so he might decided to sell it. So that's my contribution.
Oh, great. So, Yowale, thank you so very much for that. Maintenance, amongst all the lists that Moji reeled out, maintenance could also be the reason, aside from you want to travel, aside from you want to make investment decisions, and all the points that Moji reeled out. It's also possible that your inability to continue to maintain a property could also be the reason why you want to sell. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Yowale Kehinde, for that contribution. So we're going to be wrapping up now, and I'm going to ask Moji maybe one more question, and then we just maybe one question to hear about, and then we take it off on there. I think we've talked about why people don't want to. Okay, so and this will go to professionals, basically. Let's go to professionals. Let's say everything is done. The professional, I need you to address a little bit, because you just told us that get a professionals to do your selling. Now, let's assume professionals are on this call, which of course they are. Beyond just handing your property to them, what do you think what do you think, or what are the expectations from a professional? I just think it may not just be enough to say, I want to sell my property, and because somebody is a professional, what other things, what should be the expectations of a professionals to somebody who wants to sell?
Thank you very much for that question. I think, like I said, for a seller, they must really have the decision in them that they really want to sell this property. And then when they get a professional needs to engage them, maybe sometimes to really know why they want to sell, and then advise them, because they might be saying, oh, my property worth this because I have done so much investment. But if they have a professional, the professional will tell them, oh, I'm sorry, the fact that you have done this investment, but see the going rate in this area, maybe you might be at disadvantage because of your location. It might not all be negative. And sometimes also, they might also say that, oh, this is a property, you might think that, oh, it's 200 million. But do you know that in this environment, it was so. So when you engage a professional, it's kind of open more ideas. They're able to educate you, tell you the truth, because you know they're going to serve without being without being sentimental. And also, they might also want to engage you to know if the house you want to sell can go now, especially if you already have sitting tenants. They might want to know when is the rent expiring. And so if you still have someone whose lease is a long one, they might also be communicated to that, because you have this person, except you want to have an agreement with them, maybe to pay them off, and they so agree, or to give them another location because you want to sell this. So there must be an agreement. So it's not just about, oh, they have given us, we want to sell. So we'll come to the open and explain to them. And also, we also take them through the process of, oh, this is our fee, and this is our fee. If we sell this property, this is going to be fee. And then, like you said, when you were also saying that some estate agents overpromise. So we don't overpromise. We tell the the seller that, okay, fine, we are going to put your market in your property in the market. We are going to do the necessary work, like the advertisement. If the house we are looking at it, we'll know if it involves, maybe we are just going to put a banner, or we need to have a billboard, and also we can also advise the kind of investor that might be interested in your property. And we can also educate them by telling them that, don't worry, we don't even need to make this sale public. We have people that we can just give this property and we know that they are going to buy it. So they have so much to gain by engaging a professional. And then also talking about the documentation, as a professional, you are going to advise, you are going to, of course, examine the document they have, and also put them through. If there are some that are missing, tell them how to go about it, because they are the owner of that property, but they have issue with one document. They may not even have idea. They might think it's one complex things. So a professional will come and say, oh, this area is not my area. I'll get a lawyer to do this for you. And then we also advise them, if this building is a building that you should just sell the way it is, you don't need to do upgrade. As far as the compound is clean, the grasses are cut, so it can fly. So there are many things that a seller can gain from just engaging the right professional. So, and then let's not forget, so and all of these things, like I mentioned, that even when you are selling, there must be corresponded that you pass, like writing offer and this. So also between the professional and the person who is like the seller, there must be from the seller a letter instructing us that we are either we are the sole agent. Some might choose us as a sole agent. Some might say, oh, I have more than one agent on this property, but this we agree. So there must be a letter instructing us. We cannot just, oh, because they are saying, come and sell my house, we just rush and put our board. So there must be a letter from the seller telling us that, oh, I've now appointed Ubosele and Co, for instance, to be, the sole seller or the professional on this to sell this property. So yes, I don't know. Maybe
Thank you
Mr.
very
can
much.
also add more.
No. It's fine. It's absolutely. I mean, that's the right. It's okay. That's it basically. That's it basically, because most times we talk about those who want to sell. The responsibility on the side of the professional is also very keen, and I think you've actually addressed that basically. Beyond the need to make them fees, you're a professional because you are a professional, and a professional must actually act in a professional manner. Right? Don't, because you feel that you want to sell or you want the instruction on your side, you're not giving the seller or the so-to-be seller the right information. You're telling him what he wants to hear and not what he needs to hear. So as professionals that are on this call, and I know we have quite a lot of us on this call, it's beyond just making the fees. We talk about correspondence, we talk about documentation, which of course is very key for professionals. So I think that's a great lesson we can take from here. So thank you very much. It's been a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful session today, and the topic has been very wonderful. And I can see a lot of people. I can see ESV Julius. A few persons are asking that they need to get the slides. Oh, definitely. If your emails are there, I'm sure from the back end, please just drop your emails. The back end will get the slide across to you. Usually we send all the slides for our presentation to the participants so you can go over them again, because the essence is for us to get out of this place a lot better and offer a lot more concise professional advice to our clients and all that. So you will get it. And quite a lot, I can see a lot of people are saying thank you. I can see, oh, there's another. Okay, thank you. I can. Yeah, I don't know if I can quickly take this question. Okay, no, it's not a question. It's actually an email. Okay, so I can see the email from Yusuf Oladejo. Don't worry. Please, let's make sure we get all of this details. And I'm sure from the back end we'll get all of the email addresses, and we're going to send it to you. Once again, It's an honor to have you all here and to listen to this wonderful presentation. Thank you, Moji. Thank you, Mr. Ele. Thank you for those who also make their comments, and all the participants. We thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next edition, which will be coming in August, where we'll be coming on that topical issue that is going to benefit us all. So Obosele & Co is one of the firms that you can actually engage. You can be sure that we are right here. We offer the right professional advice. If you want to sell, if you want to buy, and all the rest, you want to do whatever it is, and whatever it is within our space, we can offer you that advice. And don't hesitate to reach out to us anytime you want us to be of service to you. Once again, we do not take your coming in for granted. We appreciate you. I can see quite a whole lot of people, and I can't begin to call your names one after the other, but hey, we appreciate you all, and we look forward to seeing you in the next edition. So from my end, my name is Olusanjo Faole. Looking forward to see you in the August edition. It's bye for now. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of your day. God bless you.